Good morning, everybody. Mike Wright, Edge Home Finance. We're here for you on another bright, sunny Wednesday. Actually, I hope it's actually Tuesday, but I'm hoping it's that way tomorrow, you know. But I'm super flattered to have a dear friend of mine for many, many years on, along with her daughter, who is fell into the trap, Cindy Welu, and then Farrah. But I got to get Farrah's married name because she's recently married, Lessard.
Yep, Lessard.
In there, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much for coming on and being our Realtor of the Week.
Thanks for having
Realtors
us.
of the Week.
Yeah.
It was super fun. We had a family in here a couple weeks ago, wasn't it, Jake?
Yeah.
Had them in a couple weeks ago, so it's always fun to see how the kids follow the suit, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think? So the company name is Athena Plus
Athena
Realty
Plus, yep.
Fantastic. How do you like it?
I really like it. I've been thinking about starting a brokerage for I don't know how many years. She says
Longer than I've been in.
Yeah, longer.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Right.
we just thought the timing was good with our last brokerage closing.
Yeah,
So
in
open it
Eden
up.
Prairie, sure.
Yeah, I mean, getting a name took a little while.
It's always. It seems like it's always that case, right? What is the name that's going to have the biggest impact on the business? But yet, you guys, it's got some heart and soul to it as well.
We wanted it to represent us, and that's more because, of course, Athena. Maybe you should explain it because you're more into Greek mythology.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what it really came down to is, you want a name that's easy for people to spell and say. You want something that's not super overly complicated and also something that's not too specific to us name-wise. We
Yeah.
already have our team name.
Right.
And we kind of just started throwing things off the wall, so to speak, throwing ideas out. We had several different ones, but then I read a lot, so of course, there's a lot of books that reference Greek.
I like it.
And she's always been a huge Wonder Woman fan, so all of a sudden Athena popped into my head because I'm like, well, probably a little more classy, so to speak, than maybe Wonder Woman real estate. So then kind of started playing with that, and it kind of went from there because it just fit all the needs we had.
Nah, it's beautiful.
And she's the goddess of wisdom, strategy, and compassion.
Now, I'll tell you what, that's a mom comment right there, Huge props to that. I love it. And very accurate as well. Mm-hmm. So tell us about, God, you've survived this business, and yet you look so young. What's the, what the hell is your story there, lady?
Maybe it's makeup, but no, I'm not looking very young. Well, it's been, 24 years this year. So what is my story? I don't know. I just keep adapting as I need to.
I think that's the key. But you've also been at some different brokerages.
I have.
Remax, KW.
And Coldwell Banker.
Yeah.
So when I was first in, I was actually at Century 21, if you can believe that. But that was in 2000, and it wasn't for very long.
Yeah.
But it's all that I knew in North Dakota, where I grew up, because that's all I saw.
Sure.
So that's who I naturally called first. But then I realized they were in Minneapolis, and they were just too far, and Coldwell Banker kind of was recruiting me, so then I went to them for a little while, just 3 years. Yep, then Remax for 11, and then Keller Williams until this January.
Yeah. Well, and it's super cool. Bill Foster was a great mentor of mine, was out of the Remax office, and I got to know him real well there. But each company has bits and pieces that now you've pulled from to create your own company.
That is true.
How do you like it? How do you like business ownership?
I like what's the word I want to use? Freedom?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with having large brokerages that back you. But from day one of me being in my experience, it wasn't the brokerage that backed me, it was the broker. The broker of our office happened to be my business partner.
I like it.
Was able to answer just about any question, was able to help with any deal, and even when something would come up that has never been seen by her or me, she was still able to problem solve. So just having that, it's great to have those other offices, but for me it's kind of the same in terms of the
Well, the
support I have.
mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mentorship and the coaching and that stuff. And what we find in this Realtor Connect group, so often because of these interviews, et cetera, you meet other people within the business, right? And I mean, you're constantly going to be running into people that you get to know, like, and trust, and now they become your mentors.
Right.
So it's, I know Cindy has done that tremendously and succeeded at that. Do you still do coaching? Do you both go to events?
No, we don't. I don't do coaching right now, currently.
Yep.
Other than I do a lot of online webinars.
A lot of what?
Online webinars.
Yeah, good,
I do a lot
good.
of that. Getting a couple more designations, so I'm always learning. I always want to keep learning.
Right. Good.
Otherwise, I don't know, maybe I'd be bored.
Yeah, but I think that's what I find of myself in this mortgage business is I come to the office to feed off the hunger of some of these the guys, guys, girls, whatever. But they're young, they're energetic, they got creative ideas, and we can get fixated in our, I've done it forever, right?
Yes.
So it's nice to have the young blood and give mom some oomph. What's been some of the pros of this business? You're 4 years into it now? Good.
2020. Yeah, it was never the original plan. I went to college with the intention of managing at hotels, restaurants, event venues. That was kind of always the plan. Obviously, there was a pretty large worldwide event that happened in 2020.
Right.
And hospitality probably got hit just about harder than any other industry in terms of employees being let go, jobs not happening. I was set up to go to Marriott here in Minneapolis, and that did not happen.
Right.
So she had been talking to me for quite some time about, try it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go into the family business. So I was like, fine, I'll get my license and start. And I haven't really looked back much since then. But it has a lot of ups and downs. I think anyone in real estate could tell you that. But there's something, I don't think there's anything more rewarding than the end goal. That is real estate. And that was why I originally went into hospitality, is creating experiences for people. So the transition actually went a lot better than I expected, because I'm practically doing the same thing, except instead of making it so someone has a good dinner, I'm helping someone get into a house. Lot more internal reward with that.
No, and it's tremendous. And you are at an age where people are starting to do this. I know with first-time home buyers, we're cranking it. You know what I mean? There's some amazing down payment assistance programs. There are the gratification and satisfaction of seeing somebody across the table for the first time. It's like bringing home a baby, which, who knows when that's going to happen now that you're married, but we'll leave.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, grandma's like, how's tomorrow? But it's cool because they're both nervous as hell, but yet they're happy as can be.
Oh, yeah. I always have to tell clients it's very normal to have a very good mixture of excitement and nerves.
Yeah.
Pretty typically they go together. When you go on a roller coaster, usually you're excited, but you might also have some nerves because you're about to go on a roller coaster. It's a good thing to have a little bit.
So has mom taught you, Cindy, I won't refer to you as mom, the skills of sales? I mean, because that's an art. Right? Mm-hmm. And when you come from college, you don't get taught that, art. Has Cindy been instrumental helping with that?
Yeah, her big premise when it comes to business is just the care. A lot of times it's, talking to past clients, talking to people that you meet. It's not about, how can I get you to let me in your house? It's about, how can I show these people that they want me to be the one who's in their house doing this? And showing that skill, the care, because, for us, it's just another day.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a huge
money
commitment.
Deal.
It's a big money deal. And being able to show that the people in your corner are not just people who are trying to get a check at the end of the day, but people who care about them as humans, who want them to get the most money, because then, of course, we get the most money, too.
Correct.
I think that does a lot in terms of our ability to get business, because it's just, there's a lot that goes into it. Just actually getting in the door with people and then getting them to sign the dotted line.
Right. And I would say I'm not typical sales, Mike. I'm not pushy. I'm not like a pushy salesperson. I won't,
Nor do you need to be. And I think that the acronym I always use for CARE is creating a referable experience. How do you do that,
Like that.
to where you're in essence getting a referral before your transaction's done, right? And I think that you nailed it. And to hear you say it is so critical. It's client first, paycheck second. We all work, we all get paid, but to keep a client happy and trusting, when you're, like you said, there's so many different things. How do you train somebody to manage a transaction? Is it, here's a sheet of paper, or, what have you done?
Actually, it's probably been mostly all hands-on. So since now it's just Farrah and I, so small boutique is what we're calling ourselves, right? Versus when I had larger teams in the past, but we pretty much do it all together. So listing appointments are together. Showings are usually not, right? But
yeah, right.
But then with negotiations and a lot of that, we do it together. So just learning that way. I think hands-on. Am I misspeaking? I don't think so.
I think that's absolutely the best, because you have a protege that's so established and has seen the pros and cons to many companies and the best approaches. And so to be able to have that ability to sit in and learn hands-on, that's huge.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, I think you always learn. Every day you might deal with someone who's a little more difficult. You might deal with a transaction that's ridiculously smooth. The amount of jokes we're always making together of, oh, what a day it's been. And then the next day it's as if the phones are silent. It's just super quiet. You're like, it's kind of nice to have the constant back and forth. It keeps it exciting.
It's the ebbs and flows of the business. And what's you've had the talent to learn is you get paid some decent money. Right?
That's the hope.
Well, that's the hope, but that's your hard work and discipline and focus and la-da-da-da-da. But I think it's also the art of how do you handle that? Because some people want to get paychecks with your age, and next thing you know, you're going, hey ho, I need a car, I need a Benz, I need, I need all these other toys. But Cindy's been through the ebbs and flows, and so I suppose that mentorship's helped as well.
Yeah,
you've seen it firsthand just growing up.
Yeah,
Really.
definitely seen a lot.
You've grown up in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Which the one thing that's unique about it is everyone always talks about 2008, the housing crash and how it was such a horrific time for agents. When I grew up, it was one of the best times because Cindy, my mother, adapted, got designations and new things that were needed at that time, and flourished business-wise.
Yes.
So most people are talking about how it was this really bad time, whereas in my house, it was actually a very eventful time positively.
Yeah.
Just because she was able to adapt to the change, find the niche that was needed, and become that niche, and flourish that way. So if that's taught me anything, it's that you can turn a bad situation decent. I'm not going to say perfect because, not everyone's able to. It's always, you're not going to have all good days. But that taught me that anytime you think you might be in the rut, it's just a matter of trying to change your thinking on it to find a new path.
Our business is wicked in respect of the mind games, right? Like you said, there may be a month where you don't have something going on, and it's like, holy shit, how am I going to make how am I going to survive? But it's the consistent, persistent, and being patient practices that you get taught often that get you through that stuff. Where are you finding your business now? Obviously you have a database of a great deal of people. Are you dialing? Are you doing, I saw you had an open house off 62, kind of near your old house, I believe. Right off 62.
Rustic Hills?
Yeah, Minnetonka there, yeah. So
Prairie.
are you
That's
doing
Eden Prairie,
open
right?
houses?
We've done a few because clients have asked for them. We do them usually the first day they're on the market.
Yeah. Good.
Right? Because otherwise, you just don't know if it'll still be on the market. Even though that has been shifting. I mean, things are staying on a little longer. And some price reductions we've seen out there too. So.
What do you think that's a byproduct of? So I live part-time down in Florida. That market is crazy because it's just saturated with homes. And so now we're seeing values dropping. How is the Minnesota market?
There's just
Cindy?
fewer buyers than there were like 2 years ago.
Fewer buyers?
Fewer buyers, I think. And I think they're more picky. Is that the way to put it? They're not going to just settle like they were.
Yeah, right,
If
right,
that
right.
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I
They're
think
gonna
that
make
was
sure it's good.
And I
Yeah.
think that was a product of your deal where you talked about COVID and all that other BS that went on. Is the markets have changed dramatically, but I think that now we see a little inching down with rates, and that will continue. Feds, whether they're going to drop things, 75 basis points just to put a little stop to it, who knows? But those are variables you can't control,
Right.
right? And you've learned that, right, Farrah?
Yeah, and what we always say is if someone wants to buy a house, they're going to make it happen.
Yep.
Whether the interest rate is 7 or 3. However, it does make a huge difference for first-time home buyers.
Of course it does.
Now that, of course, is probably where the most buyers, it feels, are right now. You have a house that's in a great price point. Well, now it's selling in multiples still. It's still incredibly competitive, even with the interest rates being where they are, because people want to get in houses.
Yes.
It's still the dream. And, you have conversations with people who they say, I want to wait. Like, well, the same people who said they wanted to wait in 2020 are now paying how much more for that house? And the interest rates did not go in the
Impact.
direction they probably were hoping.
Correct.
So it's easy to sit there and say, I'm going to wait. But at the end of the day, any buyer, any seller has to say, well, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah.
That's the real motivator of any deal. If someone's just in it like, oh, it seems okay, they're not going to be as committed if anything goes wrong with interest rates, with, the market's maybe not exactly where they thought it was, all of that.
Listen, Cindy, listen to this lady. What the heck,
I don't want to give her a
know?
big head, but she's way better
Well,
than
you
I
know
was
what,
at
though?
4 years in.
But I think that's what it's so cool to sit here with you two, because I've known you both for so long, and I'm like going, whoa, wait a second, how is this even reality, right? But I applaud you, because it would have been easy to go to an EXP or some other solid company, but you've decided to go and dive into it yourself. I love it. How has that transition been?
It's been pretty good, actually. I mean, I get a little more overwhelmed than she does. She keeps me more calm because of now moving into an office and just changing everything really is a lot.
You mean the forms and the names
and the logo
the
everywhere,
business
and then
the
I'm like,
logo.
oh my gosh, we're still finding spots. I'm like, oh, we forgot about that spot.
Yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of things.
Well, but those are the things where it's nice to have that family partnership, because Farrah can take care of social media stuff, or where are we at with business cards, and
Right.
it's those two brains together that help conquer things easily. You're the calming force.
Yeah, that's always the joke I make, is if we both were sending an email, mine would be a paragraph, hers would be a page.
Yeah, well, believe me.
You gotta find a good, maybe in-between spot, but
I
it
don't know what that
balances us
is.
out.
I do a birthday card, and even though my kids look at my chicken scratch and say, "What the hell, pops?" Can't even read it. It's this. You could just say, "Happy birthday, I love you," but just go on and on and on and on. So you're probably right.
It's just always a joke, because sometimes the page is necessary, sometimes the paragraph is necessary.
Yeah.
We just always, we poke a lot of fun at each other, because I'm like, oh, I sent over that draft, and she's like, that's nothing. And then I'm like, but it's very concise, it's to the point.
I love
Whereas
it.
she'll have a lot of, I like to call it filler, and I'm like, sometimes that is nice.
Yeah, but the ability and the maturity for you both to be able to talk like this without it, I'm mom, we're doing it my way. I think that's a cool thing to witness, because it's so needed. Because then hence the next question, how is it working together all the time?
I'll let you answer that.
I think, of course, there's always going to be days where we might have shorter fuses, but
Yeah.
I think there's a great deal of respect for each of our skill sets. I will never question her when it comes to some of her marketing, because she is a genius when
Right.
it comes to doing marketing, staging. she's the brain of that. I remember there was one time I was going into a listing and she had something come up where she wasn't able to go, and I had to finish the staging myself. Oh, I was freaking out.
Right.
So I'm like, this is
She's
not.
sending me pictures on my
Yeah,
phone. I'm like, what?
But
trying to send her
it's
videos,
no.
pictures, because I'm trying to, but I'm like, this is not my specialty. This is hers. Whereas
Right.
if she was there, she could probably have her eyes closed and do it.
Right.
Whereas in other regards, I like to at least think it might be slightly opposite, where there's things that are maybe a little out of her comfort.
She's
that I
very
handle.
good at writing.
Yeah.
And
Well, but
communicating.
that's your reading and your brains and your so I mean that's a huge talent, right? Because I mean, like we just said, get wordy, and it can be expressed in so much better deal. But that's so. Are you finding a lot of buyers in your age bracket that are just first getting married? Obviously, you're newly married.
Yeah, actually, just had a client go under contract yesterday.
Nice.
And
That
very,
was a good thing. It was.
very excited for them because they're getting married in just a couple months, and really wanted them to be able to be in a home of their own before that.
Oh, fun.
So,
And how many have they lost?
quite a few.
Yeah.
They're also a very competitive price point, but most buyers, once you kind of start getting into it, get into the rhythm, really know how much do I want this house, you start slowly seeing the changes of, well, before I wasn't willing to maybe offer these terms, but now I'm a little more open. Because it's very easy when someone's looking at their first house to say, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's a lot harder on the fifth house to say the same thing when
Yes.
you want a house.
Yeah.
But I see that a lot with buyers. Couple other ones where it's, they're in between, where life happens a lot, especially, there's a lot of instability in the world.
Right.
And people, when you're trying to make a huge purchase, when you want to know that you're going to be stable financially, mentally, emotionally, you work a lot with that with your clients, trying to be that support for them, but in a professional manner still.
Yes.
You don't want to overstep that unless, of course, they want to open up to you or something, but you want to show them that you are in their corner, because the amount of times we've had conversations with people where they're like, well, we don't want to overwhelm you, even though we can, of course, tell it's affecting the transaction.
Of course,
Like,
of
what's
course.
going on? Oh, we don't want to talk about it. Well, something's obviously going on.
Right.
And then once you let people know we're here for them to support them, not just with the transaction, it just opens up a lot of doors with the communication with clients, showing that trust. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to force people to do things that they're
Correct.
not ready for.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, of course we want to get paid. We want to pay our bills, but you're not losing a client if all of a sudden they're not ready for something. It's just been pushed off 6 months. It's been pushed off a year, and a lot of that just comes down to building that trust.
I think the art of asking questions, but the bigger art is listening to how they respond, is so critical. Because I'll ask a question, I'm already thinking, how do I respond? How do I do this, that, the other thing? Then you're not 100% listening. What you just made mention is so critical, because buyers can be goofed up. And sometimes it's a matter of getting them straight and being open with you, so it's not going to goof everyone up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we usually don't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, but
we'll
but
be
that's
pretty
good, though.
direct. We'll be pretty direct, but kind, but direct.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's fine though. I think that people, their expectations are they don't want to be bullshitted. You know what I mean? And I think that I'm going to go back to an old saying, whereas a good agent will tell people what they want to hear, whereas a great agent will tell them the truth. And I think that that's the hard thing about your figuring out a list price. We talked about how homes are sitting right now. People still think we're going up, 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 up. Well, we may not be in certain areas. So it's your talents to say, here's what the market states your home is worth. I know you may or may not like it, but the reality is this is what comps are.
Well, and we usually always give a range based
Yeah.
on the data, but I will tell them I can make a case as an agent for the highest and the lowest.
Yeah.
So anyone else can too. So you just have to, yeah. But I ultimately do let them price it because it's their home.
Yeah, right. Of course. Well,
It's their
and you
asset,
can
it's their
tell.
home.
And I think that when people lose homes, like the example you were just talking about, where they lose 5, 6, 7 offers, that's wicked, and that's an art to a skill to how do you handle those people after the third or fourth time they're like, screw it, we're not going to get into a home.
It's a very big emotional item.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than you put your heart and soul into trying to get an offer accepted. 7 offers on the table, and now you get the bad news, and now they're sitting there holding their breath, hoping this is the one because they worked so hard to put
course.
every possible best term they could on the table, and sometimes it doesn't happen. I mean, you might have the best terms ever, but now someone's paying cash.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right,
shucks,
right,
we don't
right,
have
right,
that.
Right.
So it's, you could put everything forward and someone still is ahead of you. And I always try to have the conversation up front of this can be a very frustrating process, especially when you find the one. We always call it that because it's the house they will compare every house to going forward.
Right.
If they sit there and say, I could have written a little higher, but I didn't. Or, oh, maybe I could have done this, but I didn't. Because now, woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Right.
But sometimes it's just a matter of saying it's the past. We always, joke, it's just not meant to be.
You learn from it. Mm-hmm. You learn from it. And in your 4 years of doing this business, I applaud you because your maturity is crazy to listen to. I just pull back, and obviously Cindy has done an amazing job with you. And I think that is critical because you've always got one another to bank on, whether it's tears, whether it's joy, whatever it is, you got one another to bank on. So that is quite an accomplishment. Well, I'll tell you what, I have wanted you on this show for a while. And I'm glad we finally made it happen because I'm so proud of you both, Cindy, Farrah, and Athena Realty Plus. And I appreciate you both coming on as our Realtors of the Week. That means a lot to me. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. You guys, Realtor Connect, we've got close to 1,000 realtors in the group, all listening to you, feeding off you. We appreciate you guys being here. It means a lot to us. Without you, we don't have this show. We've also got Realtor of the Week on Instagram and Realtor of the Week on YouTube. So please listen to these ladies and pick out the information that'll help you. Thank you very much and have a great week.